Hello everybody, this is Yoko's Anime Reactions, and this is going to be part 11 for Volume 1. Hang on. Okay, Tuuli's baptism. If only I could have fired those clay tablets in the harp and preserved them. Huh, I really didn't expect them to just explode like that. If only I had a knife like Tuuli, I could make some... Mokken? Whatever. I was banned from making clay tablets after they exploded on the harp, and while I was stuck thinking about how to proceed with bookmaking, Tuuli turned 7. It was customary in this world to throw a large celebration for one's 7th birthday. Or to be more precise, birth season rather than birthday. A large baptism was held at the temple each season, and all children in the city turning 7 would go there to be baptized. They'd be able to work as apprentices after that, so I suppose one could say they were joining the workforce. I felt kind of uncomfortable about a religious event being mandatory, but when I thought about it, like the shrine visits I'd go on in Japan as a child, it felt more natural. Weird. Since children under the age of 7 weren't allowed to enter the temple, I couldn't watch the baptism myself, but neither could Dad. In a stroke of bad luck, Dad had a meeting on the day of Tuuli's baptism that he just couldn't avoid. The meeting had been ordered by an archnoble, one of a higher-ranked family in noble society, unless his head would literally fly if he didn't go. Literally! Really? That's scary. Now I get why she was so adamant on pushing him towards that meeting. Now I get it. And yet, despite that, Dad had been complaining since morning, showing no signs of going to work. Don't wanna, who cares about the meeting? This is Tuuli's baptism, you know? Why would I care about a meeting on a day like this? You're going to die if you don't! It was true that Tuuli's baptism was a very special day. I imagined that the noble had children of his own, so I didn't get why he wouldn't be understanding of the situation. Wait, do noble children not go get baptized? I asked. I've heard they don't go to the temple. They summon the priest to their home. Nobles don't understand how we commoners feel. I had been enduring his complaining since I imagined he just needed to calm down a little, but he had been going since last night and just wouldn't stop. Do all worlds share how annoying a daughter-obsessed father gets when he misses an important day with his children? That's in every world. I sighed while diligently combing Tuuli's hair from the middle outward. Dad, I'll go with you, so don't skip work. We can go with Tuuli on the way there, and anyway, only children get to go inside the temple. Parents have to wait outside in the plaza. He would probably feel better if he tagged along and saw Tuuli mixing with the other children in her dress, and yet even with that suggestion in mind, Dad kept up complaining. It's a father's duty to wait outside the temple. Isn't going to work and making money a father's duty too? I'm done with this. If you don't want to go to work with me that much, you can go on your own. I let out a huff, causing Dad to look my way with tearful eyes full of sorrow. I'll go to work with you, mine, but I'll go right back to the temple plaza once the meeting's over. We're definitely going to celebrate tonight. That's fine! Just don't miss the meeting. Your head would literally roll. Tuuli couldn't move her head while I was braiding her hair, so she looked at Dad with just her eyes and smiled. Geez, Dad, I know that. We'll definitely celebrate together. And I'm really excited for it, so hurry home. Yeah, Tuuli's smile shot Dad's mood into the heavens. I could only clap my hands in awe of her angelic power. And then she made a request to me with that smile still in place. Mine, keep an eye on Dad and make sure he goes to work, okay? Leave it to me. I'll work hard so you can relax and go to the baptism. Mine? Dad's pitiful behavior finally made Tuuli burst into laughter. She had a nice smile. With this much overwhelming love thrown her way, she wouldn't feel lonely even without Dad waiting outside for her. Okay, done. You're looking super cute, Tuuli. Thanks, mine. I had braided both the left and right side of her hair in a half-up style, finishing things off with her hair ornament. It consisted of the tiny lace flowers I had made over the winter, and looked like a bouquet. The variety of colored flowers suited Tuuli's dress and her bright, soft personality. My, Tuuli, she really did pretty you up. Mom! As she was going to the temple with Tuuli as well, Mom was wearing her best outfit. It was a simple, light blue dress that stopped right above her shoes and gave her a dignified look. To think that a simple piece of clothing and crimson blush from crushed red plants will make her look so much more beautiful. Wow, my mom's got perfect genes. She's like an absolute beauty. Mom, sit down, I'll braid your hair too. No need, I would stand out too much if you did my hair like that. Tuuli and the other children are the stars of the show here, not me. Okay, my intention wasn't to make her stand out, and I didn't think braided hair would change Mom's look that much, but oh well. I didn't know what the other dresses would look like, and there was a chance that I would go too far. I jumped off the chair I had been standing on to braid Tuuli's hair. Okay, let's go. I took my tote bag to bring to the gate and left home with Tuuli, Dad wearing his work clothes, and Mom went with us. Mom could normally walk at a steady pace no matter what she was carrying, but today she walked down the stairs slowly while holding her skirt up with her hands to prevent herself from accidentally stepping on it. Yeah, you don't want to do that. Tuuli learned from her example and lifted up her skirt a bit while taking each step. Thanks to that, I somehow managed to be faster than them and exited the building first for the first time in my life. Wow! There were tons of people in the plaza surrounding the well. I heard that the entire city celebrated the baptism together. Liz was outside with Ralph, who had finished his baptism in the spring, despite having nothing to do with the event. Our neighbors were coming out to congratulate the stars of this season's baptism. I had always been too sick to go outside much, so today was the first one I'd even seen. Congrats, Faye. Looking a lot more manly, dude. The pink-headed Faye had his baptism today as well, it seemed. He was wearing white clothes with green embroidery just like Tuuli, and his shirt was held in place by a diagonal green sash. Okay, I get it. Right, now I see why being good at sewing is important. All these clothes were homemade, so one's skills were being put right on display. Sewing skills were never that important in Japan, and even in this world I wore raggedy clothes most of the time, so I never understood it when Mom told me that being good at sewing was required to be a beauty. I never knew since I didn't have a point of comparison until now, but my mom was great at sewing. I could see why she was so proud of herself. I hate working with needles, so I guess I'm pretty much guaranteed to never find a boyfriend or get married here. I don't know if you would want to, because she's fascinated with books. I doubt she would actually want a boyfriend at any time in the future, but who knows, maybe that'll change. Wow, Tuuli, you're so cute, Lutz's mother. Carla slapped her cheeks with overwhelming surprise after seeing Tuuli and complimented her in such a loud voice everyone in the plaza heard. Immediately, everyone's attention fell on Tuuli, and words of praise flew in from every which way. Congrats, Tuuli, your hair's all braided and it's super cute like a princess's. Tuuli blushed with embarrassment at Carla's praise and smiled, her white dressing green hair with the light forming a halo on it due to the style of my braid fluttered around her. Our Tuuli really is an angel. I can see why Dad's such an obsessive parent. Mine worked hard to braid it for me. Oh goodness, mine did that? To think she's good at something other than weird cooking. Yeah, it is weird cooking. Mrs. Carla, that's just mean. Despite feeling depressed on the inside, I was a little relieved too. I might have been totally useless around the house, but I did have some skills that even this world valued. This looks really complex. How did you tie it together? Let me see too. Women and girls of all ages peered towards Tuuli's hair. Ah, they're just simple braids. Don't stare at them. I didn't have a proper comb, so the parting lines are kind of messed up. It's so nice, Tuuli. My baptism's this winter. I wish I could have my hair braided like that too. Once one girl let out a jealous sigh, cries of agreement rang out. People just kept saying, me too, with no end in sight. Mine, everyone wants you to do their hair. I think that's a great idea. Tuuli happily suggested that I braid everyone's hair, but I shook my head immediately. I couldn't. Why not? I could get sick at any moment. This is the first time I've ever seen a baptism, remember? I hated to disappoint Tuuli, knowing that she wanted to show off her little sister, but I didn't want to braid the hair of a bunch of girls I didn't know each baptism. In the first place, none of them would end up with braids like Tuuli's. None of them took proper care of their hair, just like Tuuli didn't before I came around. I especially didn't want to start cleaning and maintaining the dirty hair of strangers I didn't know. Okay, you're healthier now, but we really can't tell when you'll get sick. That's too bad. I wanted everyone to know how amazing you are. I really wanted to grant Tuuli's request since I was generally a useless waste of space, but this was physically and emotionally impossible for me. I could braid your hair while they watch at least, but I won't promise to braid their hair myself. Yeah, okay. Dad always says not to make promises you can't keep, right? Everyone minds that she would teach you all how to make braids like this. Tuuli, satisfied with my compromise, went ahead and planned a future gathering by the well where I would show them how to do the braid. I really hadn't expected my simple braids to get so much attention. Now I knew why Mom declined to have hers braided too. So what about that hair ornament? Who made that? Mine. No, Tuuli, our whole family did. Mom and I made the flowers, Dad made the hair stick part. Lacework was so rare that even Mom didn't know about it despite being such a talented seamstress. The older ladies here were fascinated by it. Hey, Mine, would you teach them how to make these too? I could, but they need to make thin needles first. Plus, Mom would be a better teacher than me. I'm not as good at sewing as she is anyway. I wasn't the most social person out there, and I ran the risk of saying something weird due to my lack of familiarity with this world. Who knew what I should and shouldn't say to the moms around here? It'd be best just to keep my distance and not avoid accidentally exposing myself somehow. Clang, clang, clang. I'm guessing that's the bells. The temple's bells rang 3 times. Whenever the temple in the middle of the city rang its bells, the ringing echoed throughout the entire city. All of us who'd been making noises around the well fell silent for an instant. And then someone let out a cheer. It's time, let's go to the main street. With the kids being baptized in the lead, we walked out into the main street and saw other groups all doing the same from other alleys. A group of kids wearing white clothing was going from the edge of town to the temple in the center. The group walking consisted of those being baptized and their family, with everyone else watching from the sides of the street. This feels pretty familiar. The way people on the sidelines waving and cheering as those on the road advanced forward made it feel just like a marathon. Distant cheers grew louder as the group of kids approached where we were. I looked at Tuuli, who was right beside me, and saw that she kind of stiffened up with nervousness. I stretched as far as I could and poked Tuuli on the cheek. Why? Smile! You're cutest when you smile, Tuuli. Believe me. Tuuli's eyes opened wide, and then she smiled like she usually did. Geez, mine. That ain't right, mine. Tuuli's the cutest even when she doesn't smile. What am I going to do with you, Dad? Sure, soon enough we saw the front of the crowd in the midst of the loudest cheers, clapping, and whistling yet. I saw plenty of kids wearing similarly white clothing. Some had bright smiles, some looked uncomfortable, some looked smug, some looked nervous, but they all walked forward together. Tuuli and Faye stepped forward out of our group of onlookers. They walked forward briskly, watching the group of kids, and then joined in the back. After confirming that they had safely joined the group, we and Faye's family joined the group of families further in the back. More and more kids joined bit by bit as we crossed intersections. I had no idea how huge our group would be when we reached the center of the city. Some people's parents were already teary-eyed from emotion just from walking with the group. For example, Dad. I jogged a bit to keep up with the procession, walking among the loud cheers with everyone else since the cheers were coming from everywhere. I looked around and saw people watching on from the windows of their houses, and I even saw some people tossing small white flowers our way in celebration. The flowers drifted down as if they were coming from the blue sky itself. The children in the front let out happy cries. I was so short that I could really only see the hands of kids reaching up to try and catch some of the flowers. The group stopped after reaching the fountain where the main roads connected. The kids from the other roads joined together, swelling our numbers enormously all at once. This was as far as Dad and I could go. Wrong way, Dad! I took Dad's hand, stopping him from walking with the group to the temple, and pulled him away from the group. We walked to the side of the road and joined the onlookers so as not to get in anyone's way. Tuuli, geez, this way, Dad. Once the group passed, the onlookers began heading home. We followed the others and headed to the southern gate with Dad turning around multiple times, regret in his eyes. We're not going to be late, are we? Captain, you're late. Of course. Otto immediately called out to us with a sharp look once we reached the gate, then sent Dad to the meeting room. I would be using my slate to learn words, just like always. In a pleasant surprise today, he was going to start teaching me the names of commonly traded products so that I could read the material ledgers that merchants would show to identify what they were bringing with them. The names of these products were the first words that were actually relevant to my daily life. Hang on. Actually, I don't even need this stinking headphones. Today's words all had to do with currently seasonable vegetables. It was easy to learn the words for vegetables often used in cooking, like pome, a tomato that looks like a yellow paprika, vale, red lettuce, and fuchsia, green eggplant. But it was hard to mentally picture the vegetables I hadn't eaten before, so they took longer to learn. I really wish I could go to the market to match the words with the real thing. Butchers are still too much for me, though. As I was practicing my letters alone, a relatively young soldier rushed in, holding paperwork. Do you know where Otto is? He's in a meeting right now. Oh, that's right. Crap. Apparently, today's guard couldn't read paperwork very well. Do you want me to read it for you? What, you? I am Mr. Otto's assistant, you know. He looked at me very suspiciously, but I couldn't blame him since I definitely looked too young to be literate. I was used to looks like his. In any case, I had only offered to help out of kindness, so I didn't mind if he didn't want to show it to me. Which seemed to be the case, so I dropped my eyes back on my slate and continued studying. You can read? Asked the guard, looking surprised at seeing me start writing on my slate. Whether or not I could read depended entirely on what kind of paperwork it was. I hadn't memorized everything yet. I can read inquiries and letters of introduction without issue. I can read the numbers on material ledgers, but not the products listed. Okay, this is a letter of introduction. I'd really appreciate your help. Noble letters were annoying to read due to how indirect they tended to be. But if you stripped off the purple prose, nothing that complex was written. Person X was introducing Person Y, and they needed Person Z seal. That was all you needed to discern from them. I inhaled deeply, filled my lungs with the scent of parchment and ink as I ran my eyes over the letters. The gate commander is in the meeting room. In the meeting too, since this is a letter from a lay noble, a lower ranked noble, I think it should be fine to have the one being introduced wait until the meeting is over. It looks like this is an introduction from Baron Blonde. And the person is headed to see Baron Glass. The commander's seal is necessary. I returned the parchment while reminding myself how Otto usually did his job. Even I could do this job once I had the instruction manual memorized. Please have the merchant who brought this wait in the room for lay nobles. Tell him that the commander is in a meeting with an archnoble and he needs some time before he can give his seal. I think Baron Glass's visitor won't be pushy about this. Thanks, that's a big help. He tapped his chest twice in salute, so I jumped off my chair and returned it. At some point, saluting had become second nature for me while working for Otto. At this rate, I think I might accidentally end up employed as a secretary here. I had intended to make paper and open a bookstore before my apprentice work next year began, but I had stumbled and there was no end in sight. I went back to work studying words on my slate and soon Dad rushed in. Time to go, mine. A second ago, someone... You can tell me on the way back. Tuuli's waiting. Dad put my slate and pen in my bag and hoisted me up before walking out with his stuff. I started slapping my dad's shoulder, caught off guard by the pace of his walking. Dad, come on, I have a report. We're out of here before Otto sees us. Wait, I really have a report from Mr. Otto. While we were in the midst of arguing, Otto caught up to us. Mr. Otto, a merchant with a letter of introduction from Baron Blonde to Baron Glass came. Since the commander was in a meeting, I had him be taken to the waiting room for lay nobles. Please take care of this as soon as possible. That's the kind of good work I expect from my assistant. Great job. She's my daughter, said Dad, making Otto sigh and rub his temples. My skilled assistant, I give you an important job. Go home with the captain immediately. He was so antsy during the meeting that an archnoble glared at us and thereby shaved years off my life. Dad, you need to treasure your life more. Otto's telling us to go, so let's not keep him waiting. I let Dad carry me home, and that night we had a family celebration for Tuuli's birth season. My internal view of celebrations involved cake, but we didn't have anything like that in our home. The only thing I could make with our ingredients was an attempt at French toast. I had Mom cut the fairly hard multigrain bread into slices, which I then covered with milk and eggs that I got by exchanging recipes with Linda's family. It was finished once Mom cooked it with butter. Since we didn't have sugar or honey, we had jam made from raspberry-like fruit as a side. I also made one other thing for Tuuli, soup with specially chopped vegetables. Tuuli loved it since she thought the heart and star-shaped vegetables were cute. Here, Tuuli, your presents. Wow, thanks, Mom, Dad. They gave Tuuli clothes and tools for work. After turning 7 and being baptized, kids began work as apprentices. Some workplaces had places for their apprentices to live, but Tuuli would be walking to her apprentice seamstress job. I guess she's aiming to be a beauty by getting good at sewing. I understand she wants Ralph to say she's good. She's a good woman. You don't have to work every day, right? Well, I won't be able to do any serious work for now, so I'll go there for about half of each week. After all, the workers won't be able to do their own job if they spend all the time training apprentices. Makes sense. My own studies were put on hold when the apprentice guards are being trained, and Otto did have more work because of them. And mine, this is for you. My parents took a long bundle of cloth and placed it on the table. Blinking, I turned my head in confusion, not understanding why I was being given a gift on Tuuli's baptism. But I didn't get baptized today. Now that Tuuli has work, it's your job to pick up firewood, mine. You'll need this. I opened the bundle of cloth and saw a gleaming knife. The blade was thick, and it was heavy enough to weigh my hands down. If this were Japan, my parents would be chastised for giving such a dangerous, sharp object to a child. But in this world, you couldn't even protect yourself without a knife. Those who can't help or do anything are treated like babies. I have my own knife now. Up until now, I've been treated like a baby, helping Tuuli do the real helping at best, and just getting in the way at worst, which is most of the time. But since Tuuli was starting work as an apprentice, they had no choice but to give me my own knife. A knife. Now I can make Makon. What the heck is Makon? I'm guessing that's a Japanese thing. Okay. Let me check real quick. 157 of 236. Good lord. Dang, 20 minutes. Excuse me. Oh, wait. I love you, Yellow River Culture. The day Tuuli went to work as an apprentice for the first time, I was stunned. I could barely do any of the chores entrusted to me. I had the knowledge of my past life in a modern world, which I thought would have made things easier, but it absolutely didn't. Tuuli was truly a mighty older sister. First of all, I couldn't carry water. I couldn't even get it out of the well properly. I was too weak. The best I could do was get a little water in the bucket and struggle back up the stairs. It took me 5 trips to get 1 normal bucket's worth. Of course, 1 bucket of water wasn't enough. We needed our whole home water jug to be filled. Mom would help, but she was so much faster she'd fill the whole jug by the time I brought a bucket's worth. I was useless. Mom told me to light a fire in the hearth so she could prepare lunch. I had spent some time camping in the past, so I knew how to organize firewood. I put thick wood next to thin, easier to burn wood while leaving passages for air. I even put dried grass on top since it was easier to ignite. That was all easy, but I couldn't start the actual fire. When camping, I had used a lighter. I had no experience using flintstones. I tried remembering what Tuuli had done and mimicked her. Yeah. I slammed the 2 rocks together and naturally sparks flew, but the sparks surprised me to the point I reflexively dropped the stones. After that, I became unable to slam the stones together at all, fearing that the sparks would burn me. Someone else ultimately had to do it for me. I was useless. I could help with cooking at least, or so I thought, but no. The knives were too heavy, and I needed both hands just to lift them. And I froze up looking at the chicken being held down. The best I could do was take food Mama chopped up and slice it into smaller pieces. Plus tell her recipes. I couldn't do much myself. I was so short I couldn't stir a pot even when standing on something. Mom complimented my recipes, but my own weakness was seriously depressing. I really was useless. What's wrong, Mine? Said Tuuli after coming home from her first day on the job and seeing me thoroughly depressed. Mom, forcing a smile, answered for me. She's sad that she couldn't do any of the chores I gave her today. What? Didn't we all expect that? Indeed, everyone had expected it, including myself. But still. Okay, I think I got it. Indeed, everyone had expected it, including myself, but still, I was shocked by how useless I really was. I tried doing lots of things, but they were all too much for me. Well, now that you know your problems, why don't you get to work fixing them? Mine, you may be feeling sad right now, but just know you're better at cleaning than any of us. When it came to sweeping with the broom and wiping things down, neither took much strength, and I had plenty of experience of both. Though I would get a fever if I got too enthusiastic about it. Plus, I didn't consider cleaning as part of my chores. I just couldn't stand to live in a filthy environment. I was already sickly enough. I didn't need a dirty home making me my health worse. My actions were motivated by self-interest and nothing more. I knew how to clean, wash dishes, and cook thanks to my Urano days, but none of that knowledge was useful here. To be honest, I had no idea doing chores would be this difficult. Tuuli could do it, and she was only a year older than me. Why was I so weak? Why was I so useless? I wish I had been reborn into a healthier body, healthy enough to at least not be dead weight. Mine, are you really that worried about being useless? Asked Dad. Obviously. Yeah, figures. But I'm not expecting that much from you anyway, Mine. Is it just me, or did he say something really mean with a smile on his face? I knew I wasn't the most helpful person around, but I didn't expect a father this obsessed with doting over his daughters to just up and say, I'm not expecting that much from you anyway, right in front of me. As I stood there stunned, Dad patted my head and spoke with tears forming in the corners of his eyes. For years I've been worried that the next time you got sick will be the last day of your life. But you're healthier now, and that's good enough for me, said Dad, which made Tuuli shrug. I think Dad's right, but who would hire Mine at this rate? I mean, Mine can't do anything on her own. Hey! Dad shook his head. Nah, we could hire her at the gate. Huh? What job could Mine do there? Mom and Tuuli looked confused, but really I had no idea why Dad and I had talked to them about what I was doing at the gate before. What are you two confused about? Paperwork. She's been helping Otto each time we go to the gate, though most of the time he's teaching her to read and write. What? She hasn't just been resting at the gate? Mine wasn't exaggerating about all those things. Tuuli, why are you that surprised? And ouch, Mom, that hurts. I can't believe you thought I wasn't telling the truth. Mine's especially good at math, I hear. If she doesn't find a job she wants by her baptism, she can work at the gate. And you want to work with your daddy anyway, right, Mine? What? No way, I want to be a librarian or own a bookstore. Unfortunately, my list of dream jobs did not include doing paperwork at the gate with my dad. Though naturally, since I had never seen a bookstore or librarian in this world, none of them understood what I had just said. Mine, what are you talking about? Someone who sells books, so a merchant? I don't think I have the personality for being a merchant, but I want a job that deals with books. Well, I don't know what you mean, but I hope you can do what you want. For now, just do what you can. Half a year ago, you couldn't walk to the forest. You didn't even want to go outside. But now you can walk to the forest and back on your own. Well, that is true. She can. With all that said, they told me to do my best with gathering firewood, so both Tuuli and I left home with baskets on our backs. Although it was true that I could walk to the forest, I had to take a break once we were there before I could move again, and if I wasn't careful, I'd be bedridden the next day. I really hated how weak my body was. Yeah, why did she have to be in a weak body? Whoever sent her there, why couldn't they have sent her to a healthy body, at least? After reaching the forest and catching my breath, I started picking up firewood. I was just looking around and picking up whatever looked good, but Tuuli used a billhook-esque blade to chop sticks off a tree. You're amazing, Tuuli. I was once again reminded of Tuuli's dexterity. I need to start at the bottom and do what I can for now, I guess. It didn't take me long for me to run out of breath picking up branches. I sat on a rock to rest and took out my knife to get right to work on a mockin. I didn't expect it to be so heavy. I sighed with the dully gleaming knife in hand. It wasn't as if I had never used a blade in my life. I used kitchen knives and box cutters all the time in Japan. But I didn't have an experience carving wood. Great. At some point in elementary school, a lesson involved me using a small knife to manually sharpen a pencil. It was only now that I felt sincere, painful regret over how I barely participated, thinking that in the age of pencil sharpeners, I didn't need to waste my time learning to sharpen them myself. I mean, I can barely even hold the knife right now, much less carve mockin with it. No way could I use the knife well when I was too incompetent to even sharpen a pencil. Would it even be possible for me to make mockin? To experiment, I tried carving off a little bit off the thinner branch I'd collected. It was a struggle with my tiny, weak hands. But I managed to get some of the outer layer off, which revealed its insides. Oh, this is kind of hard, but I think I can do it. I could practice my knife skills while making mockin. 2 birds with 1 stone. I excitedly took the branch and carved it flat with a knife. There were plenty of thin branches about as long as this one. If I just carved them all flat and tied them together with string, I would have some fine mockin. It might even be usable in place of a memo. What she needs to do from now on. In place of a memo pad. Yellow River culture and my ancestors, you have my sincere thanks for this splendid wisdom. I love you all. Father, Mother, thank you for this wonderful knife. I can make mockin thanks to it. Excuse me. Since this just involved picking up branches and carrying them, there was much less work involved in the clay digging for tablets and the fiber fiddling with the faux papyrus. Yes, this is good. I carved down the wood in my hands bit by bit, making it as flat as possible for the purpose of writing. It would have been nice to be strong enough to slice it in half in one go, but there was no use wishing for something I didn't have. I just had to take my time and put in the work to make as many mockin as I wanted. It was hard enough for me to cut branches that I would only be able to write a single line of text on each mockin, which meant I would want a lot of them. Mine, is that what you're making to replace the clay tablets? Asked Lutz as he peered over my shoulder, seemingly finished gathering his firewood. His unexpected question threw me off. What? How'd you know that they were replacements for the clay tablets? 'Cause, Mine, you look like you were having tons of fun. What? Fun? You look like you're about to rub your cheeks on that wood. I remember you looking at clay tablets the same way. He pays attention to her. Wait, what? I was carving one all by myself while looking one step away from rubbing my cheeks against it? Wouldn't that mean it looked like I was in love? Bruh, subconscious stuff is the worst. I'm so embarrassed. While I panicked on the inside, overwhelmed by embarrassment, Lutz took a hard look at the mockin I was making. So what are you making? I'm making mockin. What the heck is mockin? Come on, tell me. What? Is that something else you can write on? Uh-huh. So I want a lot of them. It's too hard for me to make big ones on my own. I readied my knife and began carving the branches. Let's sat next to me and grabbed a somewhat thick branch. I'll help if you want to thank me. Could you let me meet that auto guy you talked about before? Why? I want to learn about traveling merchants, so... said Lutz in a quiet voice as if worried about people around his hearing. He had acted like that before when he told me that his dream was to leave the city as a traveling merchant or a bard so that he could explore the world. I could guess then that traveling merchants and bards were frowned upon in this world. Weird. But regardless of what I thought, the best thing for Les would be for him to meet Otto and hear what he had to say. Oh, Lutz helping her. Hang on, let me check. Because I know I have to cut some stuff out from the interruption. Dang! Okay, I'm going to have to cut some stuff, but I will see you guys in the next one.